Hello, everyone. Satsangat astrologer. And I decided to stop by because I started writing my daily posts for the social media. And it ended up being too long. So I decided why not do a video. And I think I'm going to start doing videos once a week or so to just chat a little bit about the energies going on and give a more extensive interpretation of the energies that are going on. So I'm going to share my screen to show you the chart, and I'll talk about it at the same time. In fact, I'm going to read part of what I wrote and make comments as well. First of all, you see, I'm going to talk about July 4th. The eclipse is not until tonight, July 4th going to July 5th. So it's happening in the middle of the night, at least here in Texas. In California, is happening about 9 p.m., 9:45 p.m. Here in Texas, Central Time is 11:45 or so, and Eastern is midnight, almost entering the new day, Sunday. So the rest of the world will have it in on July 5th. You see the start of the day, July 4th, or Saturday, the moon is here, right conjunct the south node. So this conjunction with the south node indicates a heightened sensitivity, especially for women and women who are mothers, and also for people, because the moon represents the people. So we will feel very, very sensitive already at the start of the day, very early in the morning. That'll be 12 a.m. Here in Central Time. It's 5 a.m. In Universal Time. So I'm going to read then what I wrote about the several aspects that are happening during the day, setting up the energy for the eclipse. So since the moment that the moon enters Capricorn during the night, we are also already under the eclipse influence. In fact, the eclipse influence has started about 2 weeks ago with the other eclipse, right? We are in this longer than usual eclipse period that has started May 22nd with the new moon, and will finish with the new moon in Cancer about the July 20th. So because we will have another new moon in Cancer, believe it or not. So this Cancer time, we will have 2 new moons in Cancer, which really speaks very loudly about our need for safety, security, and focusing on family life, family well-being, and the members of our family, right? So as the moon waxes into fullness on Saturday, she aspects 5 planets before she is eclipsed by the sun in Cancer overnight, Saturday to Sunday. So I would like to focus on each of those aspects. So first, she squares Mars in Aries. The moon activates the December 26, 2019 solar eclipse degree. So for Mars, the square to Mars, that physically energizes you with the inspiration and idealism that Mars has been carrying since he is meet with Neptune in Pisces. So Mars still has this inspirational energy, but as well as this confusing energy that that has brought from the sign of Pisces, right? We are still in this confusion that we don't really know what to do. Actions all over the world are so contradictory, right? We had, for example, our governor here saying a few days ago, saying that he wouldn't worry about mandating mask wearing. And today he came out saying that masks are mandatory from now on until I think August, the end of August or something like that. So things are so hectic that really actions are still confusing as well as information. So next, the moon activates the December 26, 2019 solar eclipse degree, which was 4 degrees and something. And it was the precursor of the calamity that afflicts us at the moment, right? So that was kind of the trigger point, or so it is believed to the virus to have started earlier than that, but we really don't know. We don't have exact dates for the real beginning, right? But we estimate that by December it was already active. Then the moon quincunx Venus, which can make you eager to please others to the extreme of sacrificing your own values or ignoring your desires. For a couple of hours, you show your weird side just to confirm that others don't love you, right? Because the quincunx is this weird aspects that is really demands compromise, adjusting, and modifying something in order to adjust those two energies that don't have anything to do with each other. So your desires, as I said, the transits of the moon don't last too long, so it would be for a couple of hours or so, and you will feel this uncomfortable desires, right? And you may seek what you want without much sensitivity for others, or on the contrary, you eagerly look for love, but instead you approach people who don't really value you or appreciate you. And still you may be offered appreciation, but don't accept it. So it is this weird contradictory energies that we have a hard time reconciling. After that, the moon opposes Mercury. So you project your emotions through your ideas and communications. With Mercury retrograde in Cancer, ruled by the moon, right? Now, opposite in Capricorn, your memories of early childhood or family life are on the surface. And they have been since Mercury was retrograde, started retrograde. But you are, in fact, you're unable to express the emotions that arise. Your mind may be lost in daydreaming. You may find it difficult to talk with your family members or siblings because it is too much emotional. Special attention should be given to your lungs, extremities, you're right, the stomach and digestion, those are ruled by Mercury. The stomach is ruled by the moon, because the emotionally intensity may affect those areas. So generally speaking, your emotions interfere with your sensible thinking. So it's not a good time for public speaking or to interact with the public. If you do customer service or any kind of work that involves being in contact with the public, it will be kind of awkward because people are, the emotions or people are heightened, and the communication may carry that emotionality with it. So there is a need to be very compassionate and understanding when dealing with public. So if that's not enough, the moon later squares Chiron in Aries and trines Uranus in Taurus. This creates a very sensitized relationship moments, may create painful emotional experiences that are extremely intense. However, at a higher level of perception, through some kind of suffering, you can develop a higher awareness of the reality. Uranus, on the other hand, suddenly stimulates your antennae with a higher knowledge. You know, Uranus always is this strike of insight that or intuitive guidance, right? That you all of a sudden something clears up in your mind. So other things that related to Uranus could be that a friend of yours drops by or calls you unexpectedly and talks or talks about family issues, or brings you good news about home, a family member, or even real estate. It's also favorable time to think or plan a house move if you are in that project, you know. So I would like to extend a little bit the interpretation or the explanation about Chiron in Aries. A while ago, last year, I wrote a series about Chiron in Aries. And then I wrote on February 18, 2019, Chiron re-enters Aries for a 7-year stay that promises deep healing. If we become aware, accept the process, and use this energy efficiently, then we can experience the healing. If we don't, then the healing takes place through the pain generated by resistance. So it's very important to consider Chiron in Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars is now with Chiron. Pretty soon they will be conjunct. And this is an energy of wounded warrior, wounded courage, and painful painful initiation of things, actions, right? So it is a very very delicate kind of energy these days, especially because the eclipse will square Chiron in Aries together with Mars. It's not exact square because it's about a few degrees from the square, but still, it is still a square. It is by sign and is very close by, as I said, by a few degrees. So Chiron in Aries squaring the eclipse, one may feel unworthy, unfit, defeated by the vulnerability and lacking assertiveness or too much assertive to compensate, right? May fear acknowledging that one is so vulnerable, threaten one's very existence, can react, for example, trying to be invisible, to hide the stress and this cardinal energy that is involved in the eclipse. It is very stressful because it requires immediate change, immediate action, right? If you are directly affected by it, if any of those points in Aries or Capricorn or Cancer or even Libra touch any of your planets or angles, then you will feel it very powerfully, and it's very stressful. So there is a possibility to have a high level of adrenaline if, as I said, if your life is triggered. It doesn't affect everybody, especially it's more intense for the cardinal signs that I just mentioned. But it can also manifest as unconscious mirroring to another, reflecting our wounds in another person. And it could also bring feelings of insecurity, and one may even though Mars is so powerful in Aries, we may fear assertion or action, and we could, for example, act too soon or too late, and also do things alone when we really need to ask for help. So there is a deep anguish from feeling that one's existence is threatened. Actions and desires are not effective. Therefore, there's a feeling that not disappointment, but there's a feeling of powerlessness, and that there's no point in trying to obtain what one desires. One may give up even trying, ending up getting what one doesn't want. Some people may repress their life drive consciously, or just give in or give up. Others may go pleasing everybody left and right except themselves in an attempt to prove that their existence is of value. So likewise, others may display big egotistic traits. So as you see, this is such a sensitive energy that what happens is that it can destabilize the not only the mood but the willpower of a person. With all this strong and powerful energy in Capricorn, we have a deconstruction of the reality as we have known it for all our lives. And what it is that So people have a hard time accepting that everything that they have built so far is being demolished. Even the Capricorn is the reality that we have constructed in our mind. And what happens is that at this moment, everything is disintegrating, right? Pluto and Capricorn is disintegrating the reality, the structures of reality. And Saturn now, a couple of days ago, went back to Capricorn retrograde. The three of them are retrograde: Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn. And they together is an energy of reconstruction, right? But we still don't know how it will look like, and we are in this limbo of uncertainty, this limbo of realizing that everything was lost, but we really don't know what is coming, and it's like a free fall, you know, floating in the air with no foundation, because the foundation has disappeared from under our feet. So this is this feeling of kind of an emptiness that is so hard to fill again. It's too soon, right? We, from now on, we are to build a new structure of reality. And this is the hard part, that we don't know where to start. Right, and there's still some more demolition going on, since Pluto will be in Capricorn until 2023, and definitely he will move to Aquarius in 2024. So we have ahead of us a few years of really transmutation. So we are like the caterpillar, we are inside the cocoon, in this mushy, you know, thing that transmuting and transforming into something else that will fly, but not yet. so these feelings of disempowerment, impotence, frustration, and suppressed anger, even passive aggression, are common. So extreme cases, and this depends on your own Chiron, natal Chiron placement and aspects in your birth chart, can end up getting ill, for example. Also, self-inflicting pain, or self-sabotaging, and even annihilation for some people with hard aspects in difficult situations. So this is due that we are with this ideation of proving that that we are existent, we are in existence, that we value, that our life has a meaning. The stronger the suppressed desires, the more radical the reaction is, because the Martian energy of Aries needs to show up somehow. So the myth of Chiron tells us that, you know, he was a half man and a half horse. Sorry, my phone is not silenced. So he was a person, half man and half horse, and it was a mythical centaur. He lived in shame of his own body. Let me quit this application. Okay. So what happened to Chiron when he was a baby, he was rejected by his father, by his mother, because they were God and a nymph. His mother was a nymph, and Saturn or Kronos was his father, and since he was born kind of a monster, right? He was rejected and abandoned completely. So the sun, Apollo, the sun god, rescued him and helped him by raising him and also educating him. And he was taught all the science of the day, you know, including astrology, shamanism, archery, and all kinds of science, right? He was a doctor, he was a teacher, he had all the science at his disposal, and that's how he finally found a way not only to live with this wound, because he also had Heracles, his friend, accidentally wounded one of his left legs, and the left side of the body is the feminine or the yin side, and so that's the place of reception of love, appreciation, and reception of you give and you receive. So this means that there is an archetypal conflict in the way he is able to accept affection, validation, appreciation, being accepted, receive attention, and even allowance, allow him to be. So these are important wounds that are archetypically represented in the figure of Chiron for us. But this is us. This is us being incarnated in this world and becoming orphans, So with Chiron in Aries, it's very important to focus on healing, right? He ended up sacrificing himself to save Prometheus from the torment that he was going through because he had shared the fire with the humans. So he took the place of Prometheus. Prometheus was saved. And Zeus finally decided that Chiron would be up in the constellation of the centaurs. So he finally got his redemption, and I also have an article that is very complete about the myth of Chiron, and its a meaning for us. I'll put the link in the description box below. So with Chiron in Aries, the partner of the person needs to be aware of the person's need for validation, reassurance, and especially the need to be accepted just as she or he is. Virtues and shortcomings as well, everything, the bad, good, and ugly. There is a tendency for the Chiron in Aries person to try to heal the partner's traits that he or she feels are inadequate in himself or herself. So that's the tendency that we all have. And since this is an eclipse, it's also reflected in relationships because it's the opposition of the sun and the moon, and those also represent the yin and yang, and sometimes eclipses are manifested in relationships. Current healing journey, the current healing journey of our human condition is crucially painful and omnipresent at this time, right? With this debacle that we are experiencing. Saturn presents the challenges and limitations of the physical reality, and Uranus shocks us with its sudden enlightening understanding, inspiration for freedom, much like thunderbolts of consciousness. Remember, Chiron is the bridge between Saturn and Uranus, and I explain some more of that in my blog. The more we know about Chiron in Aries, the more aware you can be to Uranus's revelations, the better one can use them to heal. And right now, in fact, Chiron and Uranus are moving about the same speed, so they are keeping a semi-sextile constantly for a long time, which is 30 degrees apart. So this is also an aspect of adjustment, and Uranus is providing unexpected, but also out of the box solutions that we can use, like alternative healing modalities, herbal remedies, home remedies, and even vibration healing, or healing through vibration, through sound, as well as it used to be applied in more ancient times. Sound was used for healing as well in early 1200s or so. So Chiron had visible, obvious wounds, but for us in general, the wounds of our existence and of in our soul is sometimes not visible. In this case, the virus is invisible, and it is part of our wounding at the present time. So there is this underlining or subjacent sense of that our existence is so inadequate that we are not equipped to win over that pandemic, right? And the suffering of not being able to win over this insufficiency in the face of a threat triggers our essential identity and the pain of being so vulnerable. So Chiron himself has shown us the higher call to consciously work with our wounds. So he searched, he studied and applied different methods and alternative remedies to his wound, spending practically his whole life seeking relief. So this is probably something that we would have to do, is to now search for a cure, search deeper and deeper through science, through innovation, through all kinds of investigations and research, and even, as I said, music, vibration, even he used poetry, he used archery, he used all kinds of disciplines looking for a remedy, for a cure. And as I mentioned, he himself gave himself up as a symbolic act to rescue someone who had Prometheus, who had sacrificed himself in turn to save humanity. So see, these times I think requires us, and I'm gonna stop sharing the screen. These days, I think this challenge is for us to look deeper in our capacities and in our souls, especially spiritually, in order to find maybe a solution that is not traditional, Uranus, a solution that may come from above, a solution that may come through meditation, through channels that are not conventional. Remember, Uranus is completely unconventional, and I think that Uranus has a great part in this present moment, and we need to learn how to use Uranus. Uranus is in Taurus, not moving as speedily as he likes to, because Taurus is an earth sign. It is fixed. So what happens is that some things will break before they can be whole. Right, so Uranus will probably break nature in different ways for us to be able to heal. We are living in very challenging times. It's not news. I mean, it's so obvious that I didn't even need to say it. But what requires of us is to think out of the box, like it is usually said, and look for solutions in places where we hadn't looked before. And what I would like to say about our emotional well-being is that spiritual practices are very encouraged, like meditation at home, developing stronger family ties, and strengthening the family relationships, and everything that is Cancerian in nature, like giving comfort to others and being compassionate is very important these days. So one of the things that Mars brings is sometimes selfishness, and so it won't help much solving the problem. So it is better to be willing to share, to be compassionate with other people and help other people. And if you can find a way to be of service, either to your family, to your neighbors, or whoever is in need, those things will lessen the pain that we are all going through. Okay, so I wish you the best, and thank you for watching, and I hope the eclipse brings good things in your life, to your life. See you next time.